Evening will be John Stapleton, and John Stapleton is founder of the program Dads on the Air. Dads on the Air is broadcast on station 2GLF, Community Radio, 89.3. If you want to bone up on that afterwards, I'm sure you can get that information. Welcome John Stapleton, please.
Thanks everybody for coming on such a cold night, and what an excellent speech, really interesting, thanks. Just to clarify, in case anyone hasn't realised, there was a poster that was unfortunately incorrect, and I was labelled as the founder of Dads in Distress, so if anyone's under that illusion that I was the founder of Dads in Distress, that's most certainly not the case. I was the founder of Dads on the Air. Tony Miller, who is the founder of Dads in Distress, is here in the audience, just here, so that anybody who wanted to talk to him afterwards would be able to hear the coalface story, basically. John Flanagan from Fairness and Child Support, and Wayne Butler from the Shared Parenting Council, all here if people wanted to continue the conversation with them. And yes, certainly. I'd like to thank the organisers, of course, for this whole event. It's been really a wonderful opportunity, and everyone else who's helped to put the event together. For those of you who don't know, Dads on the Air is a community radio program run out of 2GLF in Liverpool and Western Sydney, which by dint of pure perseverance has become the longest running father show in the world. Our topic today is the man, the loser in family law, is shorthand for the much broader debate on whether the style of custody order most common in the family court and most family courts around the Western world, that is sole mother custody, is really the best for our kids, and whether or not the almost universal anti-father bias in our public institutions, in child support, child protection, family law of course and legal aid, is producing the best outcomes. There isn't much doubt family law is biased against men, unless you want to discount the voices of hundreds of thousands of fathers here and around the world. Dads on the Air would not exist if family law was not biased against fathers. It was the collective outrage of a group of heartbroken men which meant when the opportunity came up back in 2000, we started the Dad Show. We've gone on to attract a talented team of journalistic, entertainment and internet experience. The first few years must have been a bit of a strain on the audience, with long spiels against the impacts of family law and elaborate deconstructions of domestic violence or anti-father ideologies. None of us had any radio experience, but we have been fortunate to find ourselves in an era when there has been plenty of material to broadcast. We have made mistakes. The program today is very different to what it once was. While we continue to follow Australian family law and child support issues more closely than any other media outlet, we also pursue more broader debates. Dads on the Air has been proud to broadcast a range of voices little heard in the mainstream, as well as having politicians, authors and academics whose voices, at least on these subjects, are often ignored by gender study courses and journalists alike. Dads on the Air was born not just out of a sense of injustice, but out of frustration with the mainstream media's failure to take men's issues seriously, often confusing social affairs reporting of feminist causes. We've also been proud to provide an outlet for a number of groups, including the Shared Parenting Council Australia, the Men's Rights Agency, the Fatherhood Foundation, Fathers for Equality, Fairness and Child Support, Lone Fathers and Dads in Distress, mostly sad dads who want to see more of their kids. The whole rave about what evil black shirt bastards these people are, if you meet any of them, it's exactly what they are, sad dads who want to see more of their kids. The single most barbaric thing any civilization can do to its citizenry is the removal of children, yet this happens every day. They're told it is in their children's best interests. These men often show signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, the repetitive, obsessive, fragile, fighting injustices they have no hope of solving. We broadcast their voices, taxi drivers, teachers, firemen, policemen. It does the country no good to have such a large body of such disaffected people. but we've also tried to be open to the many complexities of the debate, and guests have included Diana Bryant, the Chief Justice of the Family Court, the then Attorney General Philip Ruddock, the head of the Family Law Inquiry Kay Hole, and many others. Over the years, we've also broadcast some of the world's best-known fathers activists, including Fathers for Justice founder Matt O'Connor, the brain behind Britain's most sensational stunts, including climbing Parliament House, Buckingham Palace and bridges across England, author of Family Court Hell, Mark Harris, jailed for waving at his children as they drove past him on the street, and don't think very similar things don't happen here. Recent guests such as Professor Stephen Baskerville, author of Taken into Custody, argues the long march through the institutions is almost complete, and the divorce regime compromises the most totalitarian institutions ever to arise in Western democracies. Families have been systematically portrayed as dangerous places for women and children. Men have been systematically propagandised as violent, abusive patriarchs or historical relics. Separated men have been ridiculed as nothing but aggrieved litigants. He argues the divorce industry is a serious perpetrator of human and constitutional rights. No violations, no political parties and no politicians question it. No mainstream journalists investigate it in any depth. Other guests have included John Hurst, author of Kangaroo Court, Family Law in Australia, who tracks the public perception as a wonderfully progressive court, which it most certainly was seen in the 70s as a very progressive institution, to become in the noughties, as they say, one of the country's most hated institutions. He said, quote, "I cannot see the way by which the court can be rescued. Until there is fundamental change, it will continue to give offence." Commentators such as Warren Farrell, author of several books including The Myth of Male Power, Why Men Are Disposable Sex and Father and Child Reunion, have provided unique deconstructions of the domestic violence, child abuse, child support, family law and social welfare industries, all predicated on the vilification of men. He claims the traditional image of male as oppressor is inaccurate and has hindered both genders, leaving men feeling undervalued and women angry. We've also interviewed many women critical of the anti-father bias in family law, including, most fascinatingly, Erin Pizzey. She was the founder of the first women's refuge in Britain, and she's been very critical of the way the refuge movement has been used to perpetuate a radical anti-male agenda. We've also interviewed a number of non-custodial mothers. Recently, one mother, Diana, who copped all the false allegations and alienating behaviour commonly perpetrated on fathers, brought tears as she spoke of parking opposite a school just in the hope of catching a glimpse of her children. And that is something that many fathers know of, parking somewhere so they can just catch a glimpse of their kids after school. How sad is that?